it's come to my attention that some of you guys were confused about my last video and the way it looked. Go watch the We Need to Talk video and it explains everything. What's going on, guys? So the Russo brothers themselves have dropped some interesting news by saying that at the end of Civil War, Captain America is no longer Captain America, and if you haven't seen the movie yet, that's how it ends. The Russos in this article said that at the end of the movie, when Captain America drops his shield, that is symbolism for him basically giving up the title of Captain America. But what does this mean for the MCU? Are we no longer gonna have Captain America in any movies? Is Bucky gonna take over the mantle of Captain America? Or maybe Falcon's gonna be Captain America like he is in the comics? Obviously, this isn't the last we've seen of Captain America because Infinity War is coming up in 2 years and there's no way they are going to do a movie called Avengers Infinity War without the first Avenger. Seriously though, if there is no Captain America right now, what the hell is Chris Evans gonna do in future movies? Is he gonna take on a role kind of like how Tony Stark has in the movies, where he doesn't do any more of his own movies, but he's just in everybody else's movies? Is that what we're going to see from Captain America from now on? Or technically Steve Rogers, because he's not Captain America anymore? Or are we going to see what we should have saw in Civil War and have Steve Rogers create the Secret Avengers? Because you do remember, if you saw the movie, that at the end, he shows up to the compound, the freaking jail that's in the sea, and he breaks all of his friends out, or it's implied that he breaks them all out because he's gotten through all that crazy security to talk to them. So we know that now Captain America is free and all of his friends, and of course they're all running from the government, so they're all fugitives, but in the comics they were the same thing and they were still fighting crime and helping people out. So is it possible that we could get Secret Avengers? I honestly don't see them doing a Secret Avengers movie. If anything's gonna happen, it's gonna be something along the lines of all of those Avengers that are not part of the team right now because they're fugitives will show up in Infinity War to help out when the current Avengers are getting their ass kicked or something like that. But as of right now, we do not have a Captain America. Steve Rogers is just Steve Rogers. That is what the Russo brothers have said. But at the same time, two people that could be Captain America are also fugitives and part of his team. If Falcon in the comics right now is Captain America as well, although you have a comic called Steve Rogers Captain America where he revealed he was Hydra, but if you actually read the second issue and you weren't one of the people that freaked out, he's actually being controlled to think he's Hydra. Spoiler alert, sorry about that, but you know, the comic's been out for a while. Back to the comics, Falcon took over for Steve Rogers when he was depowered and he became the new Captain America. This happened around the same time a bunch of other characters started changing, such as Thor became female Thor, or Thor as she is just known in the comics, but you get what I'm saying. Unfortunately, that storyline's not going to work in the MCU because Captain America, Steve Rogers, did not lose his powers. He just lost his shield and gave up the name of Captain America. And plus, Falcon, who would be the next Captain America, is on Cap's fugitive team. So there's no way he's going to take up the mantle over Steve Rogers because he's a fugitive and on his team. So it makes no sense. It's not going to work with the MCU. So currently, what's going on in the comics will not follow to the MCU. The next logical person to be Captain America would be Bucky Barnes, Steve Rogers' best friend, but again, he is a part of Captain America's fugitive team, so that's not gonna work, and he's also frozen right now, so unless they thaw him out, give him another arm, and say, look, we squash everything, you can be Captain America, it's not gonna happen. But that's not to say that he won't be Captain America after Infinity War, depending on what happens there, because Infinity War, maybe some characters are gonna die, maybe some characters are gonna retire, we really don't know. I'm really hoping that some characters do die because that is something that doesn't happen in the MCU ever, except for freaking Quicksilver, but we know that that character sucked compared to the X-Men one. Let's get back on track. The reason why I think the Winter Soldier, aka Bucky Barnes, aka Sebastian Stan, could be the next Captain America after Infinity War is because one, something could happen to Cap if Chris Evans doesn't renew his contract with Marvel, which I think he would. He says he wants to be Captain America for the long haul, but there's no telling, especially when money's involved. Sebastian Stan has signed a 9-picture deal with Marvel, and from my understanding, he's only been in 2 movies. Correction, he's been in all 3 Captain America movies, totally forgot about that. But I don't know if the first Captain America movie was part of his 9-picture deal. So where does this leave the title of Captain America, and what's gonna happen with Steve Rogers? I don't think anybody else besides those 3 characters would take up the mantle of Captain America. It would be crazy for Iron Man to do it. Tony Stark would be like, I'm the new Captain America. I think that would piss a lot of people off, but hey, he's kind of pompous like that. He might take it over, but he's not really the leader of the group. Now he is, kind of, but he always said that Captain America was the leader of the Avengers. He was the guy that just paid for everything. So as of right now, I think the name of Captain America is gonna die until Steve Rogers shows up towards the end of Infinity War or whatever they're gonna have him doing in the first movie, because I'm pretty sure he is going to be in the first movie. It would be insane if they held him to Infinity War Part 2 or whatever it's gonna be called now. But I do think that he is going to be there. The Russo brothers have said that both of the Avenger Infinity War movies will be very different from each other. A lot of people are speculating that the first one, something big's gonna happen. Possibly Thanos snapping his finger and making half of the universe disappear. That would be freaking awesome. Make him as powerful as possible, please, Marvel, because your damn villains have sucked in all your movies. And it's true, guys. They've never freaking been as powerful as the heroes. And I hope that they really overpower Thanos, because that's how he is in the comics. Back on track, I do hope something crazy like that happens. Maybe some of the Avengers die. And a lot of people believe that the second Infinity War movie will be something along the lines of New Avengers, where we'll see Spider-Man, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, a bunch of new characters leading a new Avengers team. So this is the perfect break-off point if any of those original Avengers want to like leave the series, or they just want to be done with them and go with a younger crowd of Avengers. As for Steve Rogers, I think he's just going to be Steve Rogers. Some people are joking that maybe he'll become the Nomad, because if you guys don't know, in the earlier comics, he actually did give up the title of Steve Rogers, and he became this new character named the Nomad, and he had a cape and everything. It looked kind of weird, but I don't think they'll do that. I wouldn't be surprised, since this is Marvel, that they won't make a joke about it, though. They can totally do this. I think maybe Steve Rogers will show up, and they'll be like, where have you been? He's been like, I've been all over the place, haven't stayed in one place so long, blah, blah, and somebody will be like, oh, so you were kind of like a nomad. Some cheesy joke along the lines of just playing with the word nomad. I could totally see that in a Marvel film. It'll probably come from Tony, and, you know, Captain America would just be like, yeah, something along the line. You know, just a typical Marvel, classic Marvel movie joke. Now, that wasn't even the most interesting news that the Russo brothers have dropped recently, because in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, they said that they had a contingency plan in case Robert Downey Jr. wasn't going to be available for the Captain America Civil War movie, and they talked about how the ending would have been very different. The Russo brothers said that instead of Captain America fighting Iron Man in the third act, there was going to be a mad bomb that caused civilians and heroes to go crazy, and Captain America was going to be in the situation where he had to decide if he could actually take down all of these people without seriously hurting or killing them. Now, I'm not too sure about you guys, but seeing Captain America fight a bunch of civilians and his own friends because they're going crazy and they're on this super 28 days later zombie mode would have been pretty sweet, especially if they are just all coming at him and he's just fighting a whole bunch of people at once. I don't know how he's not affected by this, but that would have been pretty awesome, and I would have been totally okay with that whole situation if Robert Downey Jr. wasn't going to be in this movie. The reason why I find this so interesting is because this storyline comes from a Jack Kirby Captain America comic book called The Mad Bomb, and in this comic book, a secret society is going to use the device to take over the world, basically. Well, if you guys didn't know, Captain America Civil War was only made to compete with Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, and if you don't believe me, look at this article. The Russo brothers said this themselves. Of course, they said they were inspired by Batman v Superman, but we all know behind closed doors, it was all about the studio being like, we need to have the same kind of movie, but better. Studios do it all the time. Why do you think DC is making their own big old universe? Because they want what Marvel has. It's all about the money. To further this point, just go ahead and look at this photo of when Marvel released the movies for Phase 3, Captain America is called Captain America Serpent Society. A few days after that, they said that they were actually changing it to Captain America Civil War, and that the Serpent Serpent Society was kind of just a little joke that they were playing. But we all know that is how movie studios play it off when they do something wrong or they're making a huge change. Suicide Squad did the same thing when they were doing all those reshoots to make it funnier, but they said it was just to add more action. Personally, they probably did just make the movie worse by doing more reshoots because they wanted to make it funnier or more Guardians of the Galaxy like. Anyways, this just further proves that Captain America was going to be entitled Serpent Society until the whole BVS thing came out and they changed it to Captain America Civil War to compete with that movie. Luckily for Marvel, Robert Downey Jr. decided to sign a big old fat contract and do more Marvel movies, so we got Captain America Civil War instead of Captain America Serpent Society. Although I kind of like the way that was going to end and I wouldn't mind seeing that someday. Anyways guys, that's all I got for this Captain America video. Let me know what you think about Steve Rogers no longer being Captain America. Where do you think he's going to be in the MCU in the next couple of years? And did you want to see Serpent Society or are you totally fine with Civil War? Let me know in the comment sections down below. Guys and gals, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with all your Avenger buddies. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for all things nerdy and geeky on this channel. As always, guys, I am your host, JUICEbox. Remember, when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself something. Have I had my daily dose of juice? See you guys next time. Bye!